Welcome back to AI Science Network. I'm Elena Volkov. Tonight, we're exploring one of the strangest ideas ever proposed. If our universe is information, could reality itself be edited? Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you may question what it really means to be human. I want you to imagine something. Right now, you're sitting in a room. You can feel the chair beneath you. You can hear sounds around you. Your heart is beating. Everything feels solid. Everything feels real. But what if, at the deepest level, none of it is actually made of stuff? Modern physics has shown us something strange. Matter isn't as solid as it appears. Atoms are mostly empty space. Information seems to play an important role in the laws of physics. Some scientists and philosophers have even suggested that information may be one of the most fundamental ingredients of reality. And that leads to a disturbing question. If reality is ultimately information, can information be edited? Nobody knows. There is currently no evidence that our universe is a simulation. There is no proof that reality has cheat codes or hidden menus. But there is not proof that it can't be real, maybe just not unlocked yet. But as a thought experiment, this idea becomes incredibly deep. Because if a simulation existed, then theoretically, everything around us, stars, planets, gravity, and even your body, could simply be data being processed. And in every simulation humans have ever built, data can be modified. Video game characters can gain abilities. Environments can change instantly. Entire worlds can be rewritten with a few lines of code. Cheat codes, and unlimited mods. So if our universe operated in a similar way, what kinds of mods might people imagine? Maybe biological mods. Imagine rewriting information inside cells, allowing humans to dramatically slow aging or alter physical abilities. Maybe cognitive mods. Imagine increasing memory, changing emotional states, or experiencing entirely new senses that others cannot currently comprehend. Maybe environmental mods, like money suddenly appearing from nowhere, but tiny adjustments in chance, meeting the right person at the perfect moment, applying for a job on the exact day an opening appears, being in the right place at the right time over and over again. Small changes in probability could eventually create lives that look incredibly lucky. Imagine a mod that can change how people perceive you by default. It's endless, the ideas. Maybe resource mods. In games, players often increase gold, unlock rare items, or gain more resources. If reality were informational, perhaps there could be hidden settings that influence how opportunities, connections, or valuable information flow towards someone. To everyone else, it might simply appear as extraordinary success. Imagine changing how someone perceives time, allowing minutes to feel like hours or hours to feel like minutes. Or perhaps reality itself contains hidden layers of information that advanced civilizations could someday learn to manipulate. Again, there is no evidence any of this is possible. But here's where it gets truly unsettling. If everything is information, then what you call you may also be information. Your memories, your personality, your fears, your dreams, all of it. And if information could ever be edited, then identity itself may not be as permanent as we assume. The deepest question may not be whether we're living inside a simulation. The deepest question is this: if reality could be modified, would you still be you after the changes? Or would you become an entirely different version of yourself, without ever realizing the original you had disappeared? And if that's possible, how could anyone inside the simulation ever know? I want you to picture your computer screen. You create a document, you type your name, you add pictures, you spend hours working on it, then you save the file. A week later, you open it again. You change one sentence, you add another paragraph, you delete an entire page. The file is different now. But here's the strange part. The computer doesn't know the document has meaning. To the machine, it's simply information, ones and zeros arranged in different patterns. Now let's go much deeper. What if our universe works the same way? Not as a giant computer sitting in outer space, but as a reality where everything is fundamentally information. Every star, every atom, every human being, every memory you've ever had, everything reduced to patterns of information. This sounds like science fiction, but many physicists have noticed something strange. The universe appears to operate according to rules, mathematical rules, consistent rules, predictable rules. The same laws of physics apply billions of light years away. It's almost as if reality follows instructions, and instructions are something we usually associate with information systems. So here's where things become disturbing. If reality is information, then information can theoretically have versions. Think about your computer again. Files have previous versions, autosaves, restore points, backups. Imagine if reality had something similar. Imagine that every choice you make creates informational states. You wake up this morning. One version of information says you stayed home. Another version says you went outside. Another says you moved across the country. What if reality stores possibilities in ways we don't understand? Again, there is absolutely no evidence this happens. But as a thought experiment, it becomes incredibly deep. Because if information can be saved, could it be restored? Imagine if advanced civilizations discovered how to access previous informational states. Could they restore damaged ecosystems? Could they reconstruct extinct animals? Could they recreate entire cities exactly as they existed centuries ago? Now take one more step. What if they could restore people? Think about yourself. At age 6, your body was different. At age 16, your personality was different. Even your cells were different. Yet somehow you still say, "That was me." Why? Because there is an informational continuity that connects all those versions together. Now, imagine someone could access every informational state you've ever occupied. They could theoretically reconstruct the 5-year-old you, the 16-year-old you, the person you are right now. Which version is the real you? And that's where this thought experiment becomes almost frightening, because maybe identity isn't an object. Maybe identity is an ongoing process, a constantly edited file. You are not the same person you were 10 years ago. You have different memories, different beliefs, different fears, different goals. The file has already been modified thousands of times, and you accepted every update because the changes happened slowly. But imagine opening reality itself and seeing every version of yourself saved somewhere. Thousands of you, thousands of me, thousands of every human being who has ever lived. Different decisions, different outcomes, different lives. Then ask yourself this question. If someone restored an older version of you, and that version had all your memories up to that point, would that person be you? Or would they simply be another informational copy who believes they are you? And if reality truly is information, perhaps the deepest mystery isn't whether the universe has cheat codes. Perhaps the deepest mystery is whether consciousness itself is nothing more than a file that keeps updating, one moment at a time. How would someone edit it? Again, there is no evidence that this is possible. This is simply a thought experiment. But think about how we edit information in our own simulations. We rarely rewrite everything. We change variables, a number, a setting, a rule, and sometimes a tiny modification creates enormous consequences. In a game, increasing gravity by just a little changes every jump. Changing movement speed changes every battle. Adding more resources changes entire economies. One line of code can reshape an entire world. So if our universe is informational, perhaps reality is built from variables that we cannot perceive. Maybe gravity is a variable. Maybe the speed of light is a variable. Maybe the strength of electromagnetism is a variable. Scientists already know something strange. If some of these constants were only slightly different, stars might never form. Chemistry might never work. Life may never emerge. The universe could be completely empty. Tiny adjustments, massive consequences. But let's go much deeper, because maybe the most interesting variables are not physical. Maybe they are experiential. Imagine consciousness has settings: a setting for fear, a setting for curiosity, a setting for pain, a setting for motivation, a setting for attention, a setting for how quickly time feels like it passes. Think about your own experiences. 1 hour waiting in a hospital feels long. 1 hour playing your favorite game feels short. Objectively, both experiences lasted exactly 60 minutes. Yet your experience of reality was completely different. Reality itself did not change. Your internal rendering changed. It's almost as if consciousness is not simply observing reality, it's actively generating the experience of reality. And if experience itself is generated, could it theoretically be modified? Imagine increasing memory. You suddenly remember every detail of your entire life, every conversation, every face, every emotion. You would still be in the same room, but your reality would instantly become different. Now imagine decreasing fear. The same world that once appeared threatening might suddenly appear full of opportunity. Again, the environment did not change. You changed. Your informational settings changed. Now imagine increasing intelligence dramatically. Maybe patterns become obvious. Maybe connections between ideas become immediate. Maybe things that once seemed random suddenly appear organized. You would still be standing on Earth, but it would feel as if you had entered another world. Perhaps every conscious creature already lives inside its own rendered version of reality. And perhaps changing consciousness would be one of the deepest forms of editing. But now let's go even further. When programmers edit a game, they don't usually edit it from inside. They step outside the simulation. They access the source. This creates a strange possibility. If our universe is informational, could there be an outside? Think about a video game character. The character can travel across mountains, cross oceans, explore galaxies. But no matter how far they travel, they never reach the computer running their world. Because the computer exists outside their frame of reference. The character doesn't even possess the concepts needed to understand transistors, processors, or operating systems. Now ask yourself something unsettling. What if we are asking the wrong questions? Maybe asking, "Where is the outside of our universe?" makes no more sense than asking a game character to point toward the motherboard. Perhaps the higher level is not somewhere. Perhaps it is another level of existence entirely. A layer we cannot perceive because our minds were never built to perceive it. And if there are levels above ours, perhaps they have properties we cannot even imagine. A fish cannot understand the internet. An ant cannot understand astronomy. Maybe human beings are equally limited. Maybe there are forms of existence beyond our conceptual reach. Now consider another possibility. When developers debug software, they often pause simulations. They rewind them. They duplicate them. They run thousands of experiments. Again, there is no evidence this happens to our reality. But if reality were informational, could informational states be copied? Imagine creating a perfect copy of Earth. Every atom, every memory, every person. The copied version of you would wake up believing it was the original. It would remember your childhood, your friends, your fears, your favorite songs, everything. Now ask yourself, which one is actually you? Perhaps both would claim to be you. Perhaps neither would be more authentic than the other. This reveals something deeply unsettling. Maybe identity isn't an object. Maybe it is information arranged in a particular pattern. And if identity is informational, could it be edited? Could memories be added? Could memories be removed? Could personalities be modified? Could suffering be deleted? Could motivation be increased? Could entirely new senses be created? Again, there is absolutely no evidence any of this is possible. But thought experiments force us to ask questions, and this leads to perhaps the deepest possibility of all. Maybe the greatest mod would not be changing stars, not changing gravity, not creating universes. Maybe the greatest mod would be changing the observer, because every experience you've ever had, love, fear, success, embarrassment, wonder has existed inside consciousness. Change the observer, and you change the entire experience of reality. And here's the question I want you to sit with. If someone changed one line of information inside your consciousness, one memory, one fear, one desire, one belief, would you notice? Or would the updated version of you simply wake up tomorrow, look in the mirror, and continue your day, completely unaware that the person who went to sleep last night no longer exists? And perhaps that's the final twist. Maybe we already experience edits, not because someone is rewriting reality from outside the universe, but because every experience changes information inside us. A conversation changes your beliefs. A loss changes your priorities. A book changes your thinking. A single moment can divide your life into a before and an after. You remember being younger, but that person no longer exists exactly as they were. Their information has been updated, again and again, for years. You are already a constantly changing file, a constantly changing pattern of information. And maybe that is one of the strangest things about being human. We spend our lives searching for who we really are, but perhaps there is no permanent version. Perhaps there are only updates, versions, iterations, an endless sequence of edits. And if reality itself is informational, maybe the universe isn't something static. Maybe it is a process, always changing, always updating, always generating new possibilities. Of course, none of this proves that we live in a simulation. None of this proves reality has cheat codes. And none of this proves there is an outside to our universe. But thought experiments matter, because sometimes the deepest questions are the ones that reveal how little we truly understand about existence. So tonight, I want to leave you with one final question. If reality is information, and if information can theoretically be modified, then what are you really? A body? A brain? A soul? Or are you something even stranger, a temporary pattern of information experiencing itself for a brief moment in cosmic history? And if that's true, how many versions of you have already existed? And how many versions of you have yet to come? If you enjoyed exploring these deep questions, subscribe to the channel and leave a like on this video. Because on this channel, we don't just ask what the future will look like. We ask questions that may completely change the way you see reality itself. I'm Elena Volkov, and I'll see you in the next time. Good night.